I'm a little shorter. Okay, so hi, my name is Sherry Schuler. I live in District 9, and my family has made Omaha our home for 20 years. I have a couple different things to say, but I'm skipping everything that has been said multiple times before, and I just want to bring up a couple of points. First of all, on the issue of state control of schools, like Senator McKinney, I worry about equity issues with that and who's going to be making decisions about what schools need what. Currently now, at least, my kids are in OPS, and I have a voice. I can go to school board meetings, I can influence the budget process, I can influence curricular choices. We haven't talked about curricular choices at all, but my fear is if the funding of schools goes into the hands of the executive branch or into the hands of the state, will there be ties to curriculum? Can the governor say, oh, we don't want these books in anybody's libraries in the state, even though OPS might be okay with those books? Are they going to make other sorts of rules or curricular choices mandatory that might not jive with every district in the state? The other issue, I guess, maybe this is a question for you all, because I don't really understand exactly what's happening right now with regard to the balance of power. Just in the last week, the governor, the executive branch decided that, no, we're not going to enforce the law about restoring felons' rights, and they can just do that. So I'm kind of interested to know what kind of power would the governor have, or would the executive branch have, if the school's funding is consolidated? Will the legislature be able to push back on that? And will you? Thanks.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much. I know everybody said it, but it needs to be repeated, for putting these opportunities together to listen to the constituents in your areas. My name is Tiffany Welty, and I'm an educator. I would hope that the 2023 session isn't so far gone that we've lost sight of remembering what rushed Christmas tree bills and unintended consequences have on our state. School districts currently operate under 3 lids that limit revenue, spending, and growth. That's more than any other government operation in the state. Those lids need to have the promised 3 years, and I think one of you mentioned that, to fully understand the impacts. Meanwhile, other proposals that have been made, and Mr. Walsh was here earlier and referenced those as well, need to have full opportunity to be explored as an opportunity to make some corrections. There's no need to shift burdens with property taxes, from property taxes to regressive sales taxes that are only going to impact low and middle class families, when income taxes have already been gifted to the income tax breaks have already been gifted to the wealthiest of our Nebraskans. Along the similar lines, and this may be a procedural question that somebody can address later, one of my concerns with this special session is that it will actually turn into an opportunity for the executive branch to have somebody present an amendment to whatever's on the floor to make Nebraska a winner-take-all state. That is a huge concern, and I hope that that is not something that happens. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Don Kelly. I'm a 3rd generation Omaha, 68137. You guys are here for business decisions and everything, and I have an idea where the state's leaving a lot of money on the table. Believe me, I like the fact that we take care of our old people. We put them in Medicare, Medicaid, and we take care of them until they die. When they die, the state, as a state recovery, they go and take back the money that is owed and pays the nursing home all the money that they kind of borrowed. My complaint is homestead exemption. You offer the homestead exemption to certain people that have an income between $31,000 and $61,000. Now, if you're below $31,000, you pay zero. Then it's prorated up to 62,000, I think. Now, you go on homestead exemption and you make less, 29,000, you pay zero. I make more than that. I'm retired and I gotta pay $5,000 a year for property tax. And the person across the street pays zero because they make less than I do. I worked hard. I worked real hard. They didn't. So their money that the state loans them to live there should be deducted from the sale of their house when they die, or whoever's got the deed. That's where I think we're getting ripped off. I don't know why we don't do that. There's people here paying $1,000 a month. My time? Okay.
Good afternoon, Larry Store, 68132 zip code, Dundee, I can only tell you what it looks like, acts like, smells like, and seems to be. But I'd like to know how many people in the room today have actually done their own research and their own property tax protest. And how many of you have actually done your own, not somebody else you hired. But it's not an easy protest, it's not an easy process. And the comparables that they say are comparable are not really comparable. I'll give you an example. The comparables to my house, when I take one of those houses and list it and get the comparables to it, my house is not there. So there's something wrong with the computer data system, for one thing. The next big item is that term robber barons is probably something we heard earlier. I think that's maybe an appropriate thing, because a lot of this is based on who paid the most for the house last time in my neighborhood. Not only my neighborhood, but 4 blocks away over on California Street, or closer to Dye Street, or over on 52nd Street. That should not be. People come in from out of state, pay an exorbitant price for a house, they leave, we sell it, they leave, and they probably don't pay any tax, but the new owner does, and you raise my property tax to adjust for his high price that he paid. Only the owner that paid that price should pay the tax for that price. You should not base mine on that. Now, I spent a lot of time over the last 2 weeks, so this is not my first time. I walked the neighborhood, I drove the neighborhood, I've got lots of pictures. I also went onto the website and spent 3 days. 3 stacks of paper. Photos and everything. And I'll probably lose, and I'll have to go down to the state to.
You're at time.
I'm sorry?
You're at time.
Out of time? Okay.
Thank
Square footage and evaluation were the only 2 figures you based those on. All of the improvements done to a person's property is not included in that, it's not there, I can't put it in. Thank you.
Hi, Tricia Westgard. I'm also Bennington Rapids president, and thank you for being here today. This should have happened a long time ago, guys, like 6-9 months ago. So I thank you all for being here today and for taking the time today. It's long. I mean, just the sheer number of people that are here today. I moved out to Bennington in 2014 because my entire family was out there. My mother was terminally ill at the time, so I didn't have a choice. I wanted to be close to my family. I'm a 3rd generation Nebraskan at this point. I'm about 10 years out from retirement. I will not stay here unless something is done. I refuse to spend $1,500, $2,000 a month on property taxes just to stay in my home and not see any benefit from it. I don't have a kid in school, so I don't have any skin in the game there, but I have nephews and nieces that are in the district currently at Bennington. He got it right. That's one thing California does get right, is Proposition 13. This number that I get assessed at is just a number on a piece of paper until I go to sell. And when I'm still waiting to talk to the Turk from my protest from last year, guys. Not this year, last year. So I had to file again this year with Douglas County to start over because I'm still in protest from last year's valuation. That's ridiculous. That's a broken system. I don't know what the answers are, but hard levy caps come to mind. All the taxing entities have been getting a windfall for years. A lot of departments need to go back to pre-pandemic budget levels. Without those federal funds flowing in, they should not be able to continue to build upon those. Anyways, thank you.
Hi, my name is Audrey Horn. I live in LD5. I was hoping my senator would be here, but he's not here today.
Take a step closer.
Take a step closer? Okay. Travel problems. Okay, LD5, this is represent Audrey Horn. And I didn't plan on presenting something today, but the one thing I did want to say is, because people keep complaining about the property taxes. We pay property taxes, and I didn't catch the person who said for the greater good of all Nebraskans, and I think we need to still focus on our solutions and make sure whatever the solution is, that it's for the greater good of all of us. We cannot be selfish. We need to support the public schools.
Yeah.
I do not have any kids in public schools anymore, just grandkids, and my daughter's a teacher in a public school, but I'm a proud result of OPS, a proud graduate of Omaha South High School. And if we do not support our public schools, this is the first weekend, I haven't done petitions, so I don't know what to do, and I'm not saying. $10 million annually of financial grants and aid to eligible students that attend a qualifying privately operated elementary secondary school, that sentence keeps me up at night. I am so happy of all the volunteers, a lot of them are here now, that helped work on that petition, because we need to keep our public schools strong. So whatever the solution is, it cannot hurt our public schools. I live on a budget. I do not work because I volunteer full-time. I've written all of your postcards, you guys all have gotten them from me. But we need to look at our budget and cut where we can cut. If state employees can work from home and it saves our tax dollars, let's do that. If we can cut back on the prison population and that helps our tax dollars, let's do that. Let's look at our budget and look at places where we can cut. Property taxes, it seems like that's not the only solution. So we need to cut our budget and operate like I do it. I don't buy new shoes and I can't afford them. So that's what we should all do. So that's all I wanted to add.
Hello, my name is Dr. Andrea Newsel, and I've written every single one of you here at this table about biometric autonomy and privacy. But today I'm here to talk about, I'm a proud public school educator. Some of you, I've had the privilege of educating your children seated at this table. I'm also a homeowner here in Nebraska, and I agree that the three-legged stool is out of balance. That our income tax, if we could just take a look at the fact that our income tax is only one of those legs, and that our sales tax, we've got 128 exemptions for sales tax. For example, the cannabis industry has recently become popular here in the state, which I am grateful for, because that keeps a lot of people out of jail, and I'm really grateful for that. But I'd be willing to bet that they'd be glad to pay their taxes to help continue to fund our public schools. Also, I agree about the TIF funding. We've got to be very careful about who is not paying their fair share. We are asking the general public, the people who do own homes, to disproportionately pay in their property taxes. So I do agree that some tax reform or repeal of some of the policies need to be changed. But if the governor's bill does pass, I just ask that you please carve out clear language that still gives local control to the public school districts, so that the educators in the room are making the education decisions, and that we protect our most vulnerable citizens, which are our students. Also, if we could think about using those tax dollars for 0 to 5 public education, increasing funding for Head Start, you will, for every dollar that you spend, you will get a $7 return on. We need to be investing in early childhood education, because by the time that they get to be in 7th grade, those habits are ingrained. So please increase early childhood, and thank you so much for Open Sky and all of you for being here today.
Hi, my name is Christian. I'm originally from District 31. I'm renting in Senator John Cavanaugh's district now, and I work in Senator Merv district, so I'm kind of all over the map. I'm 20 years old, so I am lucky or unlucky, depending on how you look at it, to not be paying property taxes right now. But I'm getting my bachelor's degree in education, and so hopefully I'll be paying those pretty soon here. Looking at the economy. So I will admit right now that I'm not as informed on property taxes and the tax system in general as most people here are. I had to fill out my W-2 recently, and I was texting my dad panicking the whole time, like, oh my god, what if the IRS comes and like takes me away? But I work at a gas station. Whoa, and I'm gonna say right now that if sales taxes go up to offset the property tax relief, first of all, people that are renting right now are generally people that aren't going to be able to pay for property in the first place. So just schlepping those sales taxes onto them is really just hurting them in the first place. And I'm going to get a bunch of looks when people check out, like, which I'm not excited for. And I am also a huge proponent of public education. I'm another North graduate. And so I also don't want our public schools to be affected by this because they did a really great job of raising me, and I really wouldn't have it any other way. So what's the solution? I'm 20 years old, so I haven't had as much time to think about it, but legalizing marijuana. Whoa! Tax it, and it'll reduce the prison population. Like, thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Senators, and thank you for coming to the metropolitan area to listen to the concerns of our citizens. My name is Thomas Warren. I currently serve as Chief of Staff for Mary Jean Stockard. And I'm here because we are concerned about the proposed legislation that may be introduced in the upcoming session, particularly as it pertains to property tax reduction. We do support Governor Pillen in his desire to reduce property taxes. However, we will oppose a 0% hard cap on property tax valuations. The city of Omaha has been experiencing significant momentum, and we feel that a 0% hard cap would stifle our ability to grow our local economy. Mayor Stockard would say that cities don't stand still. They either grow and move forward, or they decline. We feel that a 0% hard cap will have an adverse effect on our ability to continue our progress. Mayor Stockard, along with members of the Nebraska League of Municipalities, engaged in several months of negotiations during the last legislative session, where we arrived at a compromise with the administration that was contained in LB 388. Those terms included a 3% cap, or CPI, whichever is greater, removing the lid on restricted funds, and exceptions for growth and bond indebtedness. Also, there was some language as it pertains to tax increment financing that needed to be cleaned up. However, overall, it was a bill that we could support. Then there is the matter of local control. With all due respect, we feel that Mayor Stockard, along with the 7 members of Omaha City Council, are fully capable of managing our operating budget. They were duly elected to represent our citizens, and Mayor Stockard has been a good steward of our taxpayers' funds. She will introduce our proposed 2025 operating budget next week. Included in this proposal will be another levy reduction of 3%. Since Mayor Stockard has been in office, with this recommendation, the total will be 8% overall since she has been mayor. Just like to share a little factual information. The city of Omaha receives 21% of the property taxes collected in Douglas County. 60% goes to the schools, the rest goes to the county and other political subdivisions. Overall, city of Omaha budget is over $500 million. That's the general fund operating budget. Of that, we rely on about half, or $225 million, that is generated from property taxes. The other half comes from sales taxes and other occupation taxes, like the restaurant tax. This 8% reduction represents about $20 million that the city of Omaha doesn't collect. Also, there was a 3.5 cent levy that was approved for our street preservation bond that has not been imposed, even though we have authorization. Mayor Stockton has been fiscally responsible while managing our resources, providing quality city services, and investing in our infrastructure. She manages our budget in the black. We have a healthy cash reserve and a favorable bond rating. All of this could be jeopardized with a 0% hard cap. Thank you for your attention.
Hi, my name is Jean Miller. I'm represented by Senator Armendariz. She hears from me regularly. Do I trust you people to mess around with public education? No. 3 reasons. 2010, remember the undergrad that was sitting out in front of UNL with a conservative organization's material? And a grad student flipped her off and she took offense? Peter Cameron cut funding to UNL because they said, oh, all those liberals. Senator Raybould, you mentioned the $1 billion education fund, remember? Did you also see where the governor's taking 16% of that? Senator McKinney, Senator Armendariz, you voted to fund private schools with public money. Last point, you've got a property tax credit you can apply for on your income tax form. 30% of filers don't take the credit that's due to them. Why isn't that front loaded? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lexi Combs. I'm going to be a senior at Northern High School this year. My family is here in Nebraska, but once I graduate, I'm intending to leave Nebraska, and that's not because of property taxes. I have own property, but the increase in sales tax would directly affect my ability to afford things. I've had great opportunities available to me in our public school system, and if the state takes over, others behind me might not have those same opportunities. I believe public schools should stay under local control.
My name is Susan DeCamp. I am in Legislative District 49. Senator Day is my senator. I'm going to start off by thanking every one of you here and all of the other legislators for all of your hard work over the years. I have to say that I served on a local school board in rural Nebraska for 21 years. And I do have to say that most school board members are very aware of the problem with funding. They try to be good stewards. I have to say we were fortunate. We lived in a farming community, huge valuations for farmland, and every time the valuations went up, we were able to lower our levy limit. So there are school boards who are cognizant of that and are trying. You know, one size doesn't fit all for all schools or school boards. But I wanted to thank all school board members and all educators. We have a wonderful public education system in our state. Next, I wanted to talk about, as the lady just talked a few minutes ago, about that tax credit on our income tax form. Like she said, how come nothing has really been done to let the people know that is available to them? It's been going on for 3 years, and after that first year, when they discovered people weren't utilizing that credit, they should have gotten on the ball and figured out some way to notify the landowners that were qualified for it. So then the next 2 years, we wouldn't be in the same boat. But my husband and I do take that credit, and it amounted to $1,300 last year. And so this year, it's taken away because they passed a bill in the legislature that takes that credit away. So we're not going to get that credit for this year's tax return. And yeah, it's devastating to a lot of people. I'm fortunate we can afford some taxes, but I know so many people who cannot. And I have always supported public education. I have always voted yes on any bond issues for education. But I know at the same time I felt guilty because I know a lot of people around me couldn't really afford that tax increase on their property taxes. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, John Tennessee, Senator, thanks for being here. So I don't think the governor's numbers add up. Nobody should address that. So, as a good senator here from Bennington said, her constituents pay $24,000 in taxes. That's approximately a $1.2 million house. So if a person here who owns a $300,000 house probably pays $3,000 in property taxes. For education, sorry. Sorry. They pay $6,000. So to make up that $3,000 that homeowner pays, with a 2% increase in the sales tax to 9%, to make up that $3,000, that homeowner needs to spend $150,000 on goods and services. For a person who owns a $1.2 million house, their taxes are gonna go down $12,000. They need to spend $600,000 every year on goods and services. His numbers do not add up. Thank you.
Well, I'm from District 14, and I don't think it's represented here today. Senator, you've mentioned that when money goes away, it's got to be made up some other way. How true that is. So why did we just take money away from public schools and give it to private schools when I hear all of the concern about public schools here? Just recently, I went to my school board and advocated for the addition of orchestra programs in the school system. If you have state control, where's that advocacy going to come from? I'll give you a crazy, unrelated story. My grandson needs brain surgery. He was scheduled, and 2 days before the surgery, the insurance company said, "We don't approve it." People with the money are going to control the decisions, and they aren't all going to be good for us locally. I like the Georgia idea. That was kind of cool. I would star like that for you. I have relatives in Michigan, and their houses are evaluated every year, like they are here, but each person is allowed one home that's only taxed at 50% of that evaluation. If you have vacation homes and rental homes, that's a different story. But your personal home, you're not going to get taxed out of. I would suggest something like that would be a good thing to look at as well. Another story about state control. We look at Oklahoma, and they just said the Bible has to be taught in all the schools. I'm going to tell you, I'm a pastor. I'm very concerned about that. Look at all the different ways that folks look at the Bible. Who's going to teach that? What's going to be taught? Who's going to be qualified to teach that? A lot of questions around that stuff. So I just hope that we don't go down this path that we're headed. But some reform. Income tax, good. Not sales tax.
Hello, my name is and I am a resident in Millard. Grew up in Millard, went to school in Lincoln, came back. One of the biggest things I think that's always talked about in the legislature is about brain drain of people of my generation that are coming up and coming professionals. And one of the issues that really concerns, Gen Zers and millennials is the affordability of housing, both purchasing a house and renting a house. So I really appreciate all the discussion and consideration about making sure that there's a way to pass those savings on to renters, but then also considering other future costs of affordability. One of the things I don't think has been mentioned much is putting on my economics hat is that when people purchase a house, on top of their interest, they're paying property taxes. So if your property taxes go down, there's going to be a number of people that are still going to be able to afford to continue to pay higher rates. So when it comes to long-term property tax savings, what I could really see this do is really kind of drive up all the property values. So unless there's a different way in which we can really discuss and figure out how to kind of freeze those taxes, I have a feeling what will happen is everyone's valuations are going to keep going up even more than they are now. and then we'll be back to square one if we just lower the property taxes without changing any other gun policies.
My name is Mary, and I'm here to say that the idea of taking taxpayer money to spend in a private school is horrible. My son has an intellectual disability, deaf in one ear, hearing impaired in the other, and he would not be able to go to a private school, any amount of money. So that money really should go, but stay with public schools because they have to take everybody. My son started receiving school services through Omaha Public Schools when he was 6 weeks old. So I probably included everybody else's kids here, unless they had a disability that was reported at birth. What that allowed me to do is to get involved with my school district. I'm a product of private schools my whole life, my whole family. But when my son was born, completely different. So the idea of taking away that, those school boards, all that good, that great and one-on-one that you can get when you live in the district and you can talk to people when you live in the district. My son works part-time, he pays taxes, lives semi-independently, and that never would have happened in a private school, never would have happened without the benefit that he got from public schools and the teachers that work there. Thank you all for serving and your staff. It's a thankful job, but it's a lot of demand on everybody's time. But we need to keep that money within the public schools. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Paul Schulte. I have taught in Millard for 25 years. I am the Vice President for the Nebraska State Education Association. I'm also the Vice President for Supporter Schools Nebraska. And I want to start by saying thank you all for coming today. And I want to share the voices across Nebraska. Over the last 2 years, I've had a chance to travel across Nebraska, collecting signatures, the second time, just turning in this week. And we've heard from over 200,000 people, 200,000 signatures that said they want to keep public funds in our public schools. And as I've talked and I've traveled across the state, my concern is the governor wants to take over our schools. We have very individual and distinct districts across the state. I grew up in Pleasanton, Nebraska. We are C2D1 school, but now I teach in Millard. I will tell you what fits for Millard will not fit in Pleasanton. It does not fit in the metro to the panhandle. And that's what we've heard across the state, is that our small schools are large schools. They are the heart of our community, and you want to take that away. And so we have heard that they want to maintain local control. I will tell you, first off, I can tell you where you have $10 million sitting that can go back to this. It's in 1402. That's the first step. The second thing is, I know that our kids, I've taught in schools where I have students that are on free and reduced lunches. Their families struggle every day to pay their bills, to provide food to feed their families. If you're going to increase the sales tax, then it's going to hurt our families even more. I think about last summer when we talked about EBT funds, the governor said, oh, we don't need those in Nebraska. We did. Our kids need to be fed this summer. And we see that and hear that across our state. So we need to be very careful when we're talking about funding, especially when it's going to impact our schools, because the schools are the heart of our communities. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Alex. I'm a resident of District 9. I moved to Omaha with my wife and my firstborn about 10 years ago. Of the places that we could move, we made Omaha a priority because it would be cheaper. We would be able to own a home on a lighter salary with the plan of having a larger family. And then I've been privileged enough to increase my income. I'm to the point where I understand that I'm in a higher income bracket. And we've actually been able to buy another house, which we're moving into in District 9 again, because my wife feels like it's our home. The property taxes are difficult, and I understand that a lot of people are struggling, but I'm also keen enough to be aware that there are a lot of other people in my city and in my community that would suffer more with increases in things like sales tax, when people like me are certainly not under the kind of stressors that other people are. I don't mean to speak for everyone, given that there are plenty of other homeowners who don't have that kind of ability. And then I just wanted to say that in regards to things like the brain drain and worries about our schools, I've been privileged to have all three of my children be able to go through a early education private program, which we love and support and work on making sure scholarship programs for. But we don't need a tax cut, tax break that's going to allow people to pour money into private schools at the detriment of our state as a whole. Because of the property taxes, I'm here tonight, but it's not because of the property taxes that in the last year, I've been spending a lot more time looking at other jobs because of the tenor of what's happened in the last year. This was not the case when I moved here. It simply was not. And so I appreciate the strong voices that we've had in our legislature that's been able to speak strongly for people like me and my children. And we like talking about these kinds of things around the dinner table because we like to know what's going on in our community and be involved. So I'm gonna stop there, but if anyone has like a staffer that I think is some thank you notes too from my 11-year-old, very difficult to get an 11-year-old to come to a public meeting, so.
Thank you. I think we can accommodate, after the gentleman that's standing at the end of the line, we can accommodate about 6 or 7 more people. So if anybody else does wish to speak today, please get in line now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Bert Keeley. I live in District 8, and I am so lucky to have Megan Hunt as my state senator. Thank you, Megan. This property tax issue has been vexing me as a homeowner for some time because I don't like the way my taxes have increased, but I also understand that for my community to thrive, I need to participate and pay taxes. The problem, though, is really interesting. When I moved to Omaha, I bought a house and I paid $185,000 for it. And I set my budget based on that purchase price for my property taxes and my insurance expectations, etc. You cannot believe the joy I felt when I got my first tax bill at $145,000. And I was flabbergasted, amazed, and we danced around the house because we had room in our budget that we had not anticipated having. So that's, I think, kind of the larger problem that, we have tax rates and we have tax collections. And there is, I think, a significant amount of property in Omaha for sure, where the house will sell for something, let's pull a number out of our ear, for $200,000, and it takes 5 years for the assessed value to reflect that. And it's interesting to me because I'm an accounting faculty member here, but I'm not speaking for the university. I thought markets work, and so that the market price of my house when I bought it was $185,000, and it kind of I always struggled to understand why. Pardon? Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Centineo. I am a proud resident of Bellevue. I'm in District 45. I'm also on the school board in Bellevue. I'm also a pediatric. I've been a pediatric nurse for a long time. I worked at Children's for years. The through line of my life is always taking care of kids, and that's my through line on the school board too. I'm here because I want to let you know we did our first budget meeting. We actually see a 2.78% decrease in state aid from Bellevue to Bellevue Public Schools, even though our property taxes overall in Sarpy County and our district have increased by 9%. We are getting no extra help from the state. In fact, it's being reduced. We are the only military impacted community, so we have a lot of federal land on our community, and we don't get anything from the state for that. We only get funding, we used to get funding per student, military student that was in our district because of different things like military housing, personnel issues. We have fewer military students, so we don't get the same amount of funding. If we're not willing to support our military impacted communities through our state,
I mean, I always hear Bellevue Public Schools is a huge benefit to Offutt, and we're such great partners. We need our state to support that partnership. I'm also a proud mother of a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old. I want them to stay in the state, and they're trying to plan for the future, and it's really hard with what property values look like today. I have also been knocking on doors, and I have to say that it's not just property taxes, but it's the value for those property taxes that we're seeing. We are not supporting our most vulnerable people, our elderly people, and I suspect this is only gonna get worse, y'all, because we're gonna have high homeowners taxes coming. We've had too much extreme weather. We're gonna see increases in car insurance. There's only increases coming. If we don't address helping our most vulnerable people afford to stay and to age in place, it's all gonna cost us more money, whether it takes the rest of us out of the workforce or not. So, thank you very much.
Good afternoon, I'm Matthew Cavanaugh. I know some of you quite well, and I would rather be somewhere else today, so I appreciate you being here. For those of you who know me, know I would definitely rather be anywhere else, but I felt that this is really critical because of the pace with which this bill is moving. I don't know if we'll have another opportunity to weigh in. So I'm Executive Director of Holding Housing Corporation. We're one of the larger providers, developers and providers of affordable housing in Omaha. So I wanted to make sure that the voice of that industry, though I don't speak for the whole industry, is heard. And just give you an example, we've been working as an organization the last 2 years to develop a housing product that can be affordable to a first-time home buyer, those people entering the housing market, and be constructed without any state or federal aid. And we're doing a good job of getting close to it. One question I get very commonly is, does affordable housing and the capital A affordable housing, government subsidized, income restricted housing pay property taxes? The answer to that is yes, we do pay quite a bit of property taxes. So I welcome a property tax reduction. That would be very helpful to the industry in that way. What I'm concerned about are some of the ways that the proposal interacts with this and proposes to pay for that, and namely taxes on the construction of housing that across the industry, the trades, as well as things like engineering, architecture, and all of those. This house that I spoke of before easily is, I did some rough numbers, again, didn't have a lot of time on any to evaluate much of this, but easily will add $10,000 to that, what is a ranch house with 900 square feet on the main floor. It's about the most modest house you can build in a modern community. So we had $10,000 to that house. You do the math, you look at that price passed on to the first-time home buyer. It'll take about 8.5 years for the home buyer to realize the savings and reduce property taxes from the increased cost of their mortgage, origination of that mortgage. And that's a pretty conservative timeline. So additionally, I believe in this market, the average length of time that a first-time home buyer stays in a home is 7 years. So in a lot of cases, the home buyer won't even see or realize the savings. So that's just one of the ways. But really, I just want to say that, it's the middle of the summer, maybe we could slow this down, engage the affordable housing community, see the ways in which this proposal interacts with us in our particular industry. We would love to have that conversation and review this at a later date. Thank you.
I should move
So I need to say my name and address? Luis Jimenez. I just want to offer that if you're concerned with Governor Hillen's proposal, that you would need to provide an alternative, and I believe that the most qualified senator to provide the alternative is Senator Terrell Blood. She has been working for Nebraskans across the state for 8 years, and for people in Bellevue previously before she came senator, and so she understands the property tax issue. I'm concerned about the proposal because I don't want to see schools turn into holding areas for students, like glorified study halls. That's what I'm most concerned about. We all want students to be educated. If you're an extreme conservative or bleeding liberal, everybody in between, that's the common cause, is that we want to make sure that students are being educated, and the public system has been the vehicle to educate the vast majority of young people. So I guess as a strategy, I would suggest that you let Senator Blood, with her proposals, take the lead to provide an alternative to Pillen's proposals. Thank you.
My name is Douglas Fritz. I am a transplant from Omaha in the mid-80s, former public teacher, former private parochial school teacher. Went to the University of Nebraska Medical Center for a job later on because I left the farm. I didn't want to risk my parents' equity and age. And essentially, a tax system that's based on your equity is not a tax system that's viable, and that's what we have now. Equity does not pay bills, and a tax system where we tax the people who can afford at least is not going to be viable either. So we have to work on other things. One point I want to make is somebody else said before, absolutely no discussion about winner take all in Nebraska in this conversation. We have a situation in Nebraska right now where there might be some tax saving. Now this is on the back end. Once you get this figured out, this company got no solutions for you there other than saying on the back end, we've got too many outside investors. If they want to pay extreme prices for second properties, third properties, whatever else it is, that's fine. Same thing with farming. I have a farm, family home, southeast Nebraska, Richardson County. A former governor candidate down there paid exorbitant price for a piece of ground. My taxes go up. And that's not fair. My son cannot get back into farming, even though I've got farm ground, because we can't afford the equipment and all the other stuff. And it's just a situation where that kind of stuff has to stop. Maybe a speculation tax for income on property that's being used. Because how can a person buy a home if they can't even afford the rent? And the taxes are too high. So, I don't really have a lot of other stuff, but thank you very much. I want to express my thanks to you. I'm a former DHS officer after I left the emergency system. I want to thank you all for your public service and especially you people too.
Good afternoon. I'm Commissioner Mary Ann Borgeson from Douglas County. I represent the southwestern portion of Douglas County. I want to thank you very much for holding this hearing today, listening session today. County is about 13% of the total property tax pie. We are a creature of the state. We are statutorily obligated to take care of the poor and the indigent, which means from youth to our elders. Unfunded, underfunded, and tax shifts are really what hurt our county budget. And as county, we only have property taxes to fulfill our obligations. We don't have sales tax, income tax, occupation tax, will tax, restaurant tax. We get none of that. So as you're talking about legislation, if there is any exception conversation within the bills, I hope that one of the exceptions is for mental health and behavioral health. As we have heard across this county, state, and country, that is one of the #1 priority issues that we should be focusing on. I have two of my staff here actually that run our adult corrections facility, and they can tell you that we're the largest mental health facility in the state of Nebraska, and that's our Douglas County Corrections Facility. So I hope there's some talk about that. I really want all levels of government to get back to working for the people and get away from working on political agendas. And I'm here to help in any way I possibly can. Thank you for your time and attention on this issue because it really does affect every taxpayer in Douglas County in the state of Nebraska. Thank you.
Thank you for having this listening session. Appreciate it. My name is Andrew Sullivan. I'm born and raised in Omaha. I've lived here all my life. I know about the property tax situation, but there's some parts of this history that people need to know about economics and the change to a digital world. A lot of us work from home now, and we're now really dependent on our homes. And we can't afford to keep the repair up on them, particularly in these older homes, because of the property taxes. And being bought out by investors, both locally and foreign, they turn around, flip the house, and rent it to the highest paying renters. And then you think renters here the renters think they're not paying property tax. No, you're paying the landlord's tax. It's the same thing with the grocery stores. You think you don't pay taxes on your food? You're paying the grocery store's property taxes. We got so many, I knew Rich Pauls, Senator Rich Pauls. It was he that did the research on the exemptions. The exemptions favored all the lobbyists that could pay for those checks. You can go in the dollar store, pay 7 cents on a dollar of shampoo. But if I go get my hair washed and get fancy dressed up at a hair shop and pay $40, there's no sales tax on it. That's what makes our current tax system regressive. I know a lot of people in this room, there's some of you know me and probably can't stand me saying this, but property taxes and the digital economy are mutually exclusive, like oil and water. What you're doing by keeping property taxes is making home ownership illegal. And you don't believe it until it actually starts happening and you find out you don't have any homeowners now, you only have renters, and all they want to do is have their children taught. Thank you.